Our next honoree is Patty Glasow of Auerbach Glasow, and she'll be introduced by Jim Benya. Please welcome Jim.
Do not put your hand right there.
This is kind of cool. You know, one of the many things bringing us all together like this after a couple of years of not seeing each other, it's just wonderful. It's great to see you all. During the 1980s, this young woman graduated from the University of California, Los Angeles, from the theater, and came to work in San Francisco, just about the time I was going to work in San Francisco. Our careers paralleled each other in many, many ways. There were some other people there about the same time, Denise, and some other folks that have even become members of this group previously. But what's really interesting about it was the quality of the lighting design community that rose out of all that was so well balanced because we had such great talent like Patty. Patty is, she's now a fellow of IALD, many of us are. She is the executive vice president of Auerbach Glasow and Auerbach Pollock Friedlander, which is a very sophisticated facilities design consulting business that started in acoustics and theater and has spread out since then, thanks to Patty to a large extent. She's the managing partner of this business, which tells you she's done some pretty amazing things throughout her years. Having graduated from theater arts at UCLA, she went to work for Strand for a while, went to work then for Disney for a while, before migrating to San Francisco, becoming part of all of this. In addition to being a lighting designer, Patty also serves as a trustee of the Robert Bruce Thompson Charitable Trust. For those of you from the San Francisco lighting community over the years, you know how important that was to her, and how it's pretty important to me too. That Bruce in particular was a very important part of our community, and we loved him very much. She's done thousands of projects. She's won the IES Award of Distinction, the IES Award of Excellence, which she won in 1986. Boy, she was doing really well very early in her career. So, and she was only 2.
Yes, that's right.
So, to sort of sum it all up, it's an honor to introduce a friend, a competitor, one of the most graceful people that I've had the pleasure of knowing and working on in our industry. And I want to welcome her to this group, and congratulations, Patty.
Thank you, Jim. I brought my notes. I brought my flashlight, I brought my pen, and I brought my glasses because you never know. So I have to undo my notes. I'm really honored to be here, and I'm honored to be up here with these people. I too was a little surprised, Don, when Jim called me, and then when I heard from Randy. I contacted Randy before you sent out that very nice email that explained everything. And I asked him, he said, say a few words. And I said, 30 seconds, 2 minutes. And he wrote back and he said, 5 minutes, enough time to say something meaningful. And I thought, oh my God, I have to say something meaningful? And then I thought, well, maybe I could say at least something interesting. Oh my God, I have to say this in front of all my colleagues? So, I timed it out to 5 minutes because that's what I do. And I did write it down after a cascade of lighting thoughts and project memories. I decided to talk about 3 things that I don't usually talk about. The first is that I've never done anything except lighting. And I'm a little proud of this, and I'm a little embarrassed about it. So I've had to work extra hard to balance my life. I started when I was 15 doing a theater project in high school. I worked as a lighting technician on As You Like It. At least I started with Shakespeare. Also at 15, I got my first real job. I was working in a professional roadhouse. I was doing rock and roll concerts. Bette Midler, Frank Zappa, Joni Mitchell, Blood, Sweat, and Tears. Blood, Sweat, and Tears, the group. Blood, Sweat, and Tears because I worked as a stagehand for 2 years. I went to UCLA for theater. I specialized in lighting. And except for a brief stint as a scenic artist and a technical director, I've never done anything else except lighting. Working in lighting manufacturing for a year, working as a rep for a year, was invaluable for my understanding as a lighting designer about how our profession works and how it doesn't work. I really recommend it for all the young people to see the different positions in our industry if they can do it. After my brief stopover in those two areas of our industry, I ran back to design. I don't know how you reps do it. I find it extremely stressful to be between the manufacturer and the specifier. I worked for Disney for a couple of years doing the theme parks. And then I joined Len Auerbach, and I've been with Len since 1984. Second thing I wanted to talk about is that from those early days to now, the things that most interest me have changed. In the beginning, it was all about design and technical integration. Now the projects that resonate with me are more about having a broader purpose. I see it in the response I have personally to my work, how it was then, how I feel now. Then the challenge and satisfaction were in the design and the process. I think about the large commercial projects I've done and that were important to me. The LDS Conference Center at 1.4 million square feet and 1,300 custom light fixtures. It was about the running of the bid, the going to the manufacturers all the time, to babysit the custom fixtures. The Pixar projects about the exacting design, about surviving and thriving while working for Steve Jobs. It was not easy and it wasn't particularly fun. The projects were, Steve Jobs was not. And then just down the street at the Aria was my first large-scale venue design with kinetic, immersive, color-changing lighting for Cirque du Soleil Viva Elvis. It brought me full circle back to my theater roots and my rock and roll days. Except this time, I was working with LED color and control technology. In the last decade, something shifted. I'm still designing the large commercial venues, but I'm more interested in working and making a personal difference with design. I know that sounds a bit amorphous, so I think I can tell you what I mean. Designing the headquarters for Lighthouse for the Blind and Visually Impaired, I worked closely with a committee of 8 people. I learned so much about sight and visual impairment. I learned what real accessibility means. I learned how to provide an environment where someone with visual impairment can comfortably navigate, work, and see light. And people who are legally blind, over 90% of them can see light. During the last decade, I've been doing a lot of designing for low-income housing. I know I'm probably not known for low-income housing design. But what types of projects need a good lighting designer and a good architect more than low-income housing? So I feel like my design matters. Today it looks like we'll be embarking on a new project, a school for the deaf. It's exciting. It's not high design, but it's exciting to my heart. Jim mentioned I'm a trustee for the Robert Bruce Thompson Charitable Trust, which runs the Robert Bruce Thompson annual student light fixture design competition. I won't go into a lot of detail, but I did want to make a brazen advertisement. Check it out, rbtcompetition.org. Tell your favorite students. Help the future of our profession. So I wanted to wrap up with one of my favorite lighting quotes. This is from the theatrical designer Pat Collins. Pat passed away a little over a year ago. And she said, ultimately, light reveals. We know what light can do. Light reveals the scene, the actor, the environment, the material, the mood, the emotion. Light can be a principal player. For me, what light has revealed is a dynamic, compelling profession that is filled with design and technical challenges, people who are creative, imaginative, quirky, caring, and hardworking. When I started down the lighting road, I had no idea I would end up here. I didn't even know that there was a lighting design profession. I thought architecture was static. I thought it was a button-down profession that was staid and slow. I was wrong. I didn't know. And please don't tell my clients. I can't think of anything I would rather do professionally than what I'm doing right now. It took me a lifetime to get here. Thank you for this award.
Thank you, Patty. Very well said.
You know, I was sitting there listening to Patty talk, and it reminded me of something. A lifetime, as we talked about earlier, can mean a lot of things. I think when you think about a lifetime, there's many personal things you go through, and a lot of you are sitting here because you've dedicated your professional life to one thing, your professional lifetime one thing. Patty, it seems that personally and professionally, you've always been dedicated to lighting, and for that, we're all very grateful. Please join me in applauding her once more.